When we look at top performers in any field, what do we think their secret weapon is? If your mind immediately jumps to sheer, unshakable willpower, you're definitely not alone. But what if I told you the real engine of high performance is something, well, something far more reliable, something that's actually hardwired directly into our brains?
We have this tendency to celebrate the grind, right? This idea that we have to force our way to success with just pure grit. But neuroscience is showing us there's a much smarter way to work. And honestly, relying only on willpower is one of the biggest, most common beliefs that's holding professionals back. So let's challenge that idea, shall we?
Here's the secret. The real key isn't about having more willpower than everybody else. It's about having to use less of it. The true drivers of sustained, elite performance are automated habits. We're talking about behaviors so deeply ingrained they happen almost without you even thinking about it, which frees up your mind for the stuff that truly matters.
Okay, think of it like this. Willpower is your sprint muscle. It's incredibly powerful, but only in short bursts. It's finite, and it gets exhausted really easily. Habits, on the other hand, they're built for the marathon. They're automated, they're efficient, and they conserve that precious mental energy for the complex, high-stakes decisions where you really, really need it most.
So, how do we actually build these automated systems? Well, this isn't just some nice metaphor. This is biology. When you build a habit, you are physically rewiring the structure of your brain. You are, quite literally, carving new highways for your mind to travel on.
The scientific principle that makes all of this possible is called neuroplasticity, and it's just your brain's incredible ability to adapt and change by forming new neural connections. It's the biological mechanism that lets us learn, lets us grow, and, most importantly for us here, lets us intentionally build these high-performance habits.
I want you to imagine you're standing at the edge of a field. It's full of tall, thick grass. The very first time you try a new behavior, it's like trying to cross that field. It's hard, it's difficult, it takes a ton of deliberate effort and focus. You really have to push your way through.
But what happens if you walk that exact same path every single day? Well, slowly but surely, you wear it down, right? It gets easier, it gets clearer. And with enough repetition, that tough, grassy path becomes a smooth, paved highway. The behavior becomes automatic, effortless. And that, right there, is your new habit. So this brings up a really critical question. How long does it actually take to pave that highway? Now, you've probably heard the popular myth that it takes, 21 days to form a habit? Well, it is time to update our thinking, because the research points to a very different and, frankly, more realistic timeline.
Let's just go ahead and bust that myth right now. That old 21-day rule has been pretty much debunked. When you look at the research-backed average, it's clear that real automatic change takes a lot more time and a lot more consistency than that old myth suggests.
So the number to remember is 66. On average, it takes 66 days for a new behavior to become truly automatic, to go from that difficult walk in the grass to a blazing fast neural highway. This isn't a short sprint, folks. It's a performance marathon. Okay, so now we understand why habits matter, and we know about the 66-day timeline. So let's get into the practical side of things. Sustaining focus for that long requires a real strategy, not just grit. So here are 3 science-backed strategies you can start using to intentionally rewire your brain for peak performance.
These 3 steps create a really powerful framework. First, we're going to make the behavior ridiculously small. Then, we'll link it to routines you already have. And finally, we'll engineer it so it feels rewarding. Let's break each one of these down.
First up, micro-commitments. The goal here is consistency, not intensity. So forget meditating for 30 minutes, just meditate for 1 minute. Don't commit to running a 5K, just commit to putting on your running shoes. That simple act of consistency signals to your brain that this new thing is important, and that kicks off the process of strengthening that neural pathway. It just makes it easier to do it again the next time.
The second strategy is called habit stacking. You anchor the new habit you want to build onto a solid existing one. This quote here is a perfect example. You're linking a new task, prioritizing your day, to something you already do without thinking, like pouring coffee. You're basically hijacking an existing neural highway. Your brain doesn't have to figure out when to do it, the cue is already there, making it almost frictionless.
And finally, you optimize the habit loop. See, every habit has these 3 parts: a cue, a routine, and a reward. If you consciously engineer these 3 parts, you tap right into the brain's fundamental feedback system.
A satisfying reward releases dopamine, which tells your brain, hey, remember this was good, do it again. And that chemical reinforcement is what really solidifies the habit on a neurological level.
All right, let's bring this all together with what might be the most important element for long-term success: having the right mindset. Because in any performance marathon, you're going to stumble. What you do next is what defines a true professional. I really want you to let this sink in. Perfection is not the goal. You are going to miss a day. It's inevitable. But one slip-up does not erase 30 days of consistent effort. The real work, the most professional thing you can possibly do, is not about never failing. It's about how fast you get back on track. Just resume tomorrow. That's it. The power to rewire your brain for high performance is literally in your hands. And it doesn't begin with some grand gesture of willpower. It starts with a small, deliberate action. So my question to you is this: what single, impossibly small micro-commitment will you start tomorrow to begin paving your next neural highway?